Morning, all. I want to discuss the concept of jersey favorites and of what makes a good jersey. Because see, this is where we're at with the retro jerseys, and so I thought we'll circle back to a magazine that I've had on here before, that I've discussed before. And notice it's greatest jerseys of all time. It's got Seattle Metros in between Toronto Maple Leafs and Chicago Blackhawks, and these are all sweaters. So when people say they're sweaters, not jerseys, no, the ones they wear now are jerseys. The ones they wore back then are sweaters. It's completely different fabric. So I have a couple of sweaters. I have mostly jerseys. Um, and here they have the Chicago Blackhawks, all the various looks they've had over the years. This is interesting too because we talked about Detroit yesterday, and it was, well, what else is Detroit going to do? They've never changed their logo. Um, that is Ullman 64, 65. Nope. It is the 1936-37 Detroit Red Wings. Get a look at that. So the concept is, well, Detroit's never changed their logo, but they have. They've made small cosmetic changes. So when they do a throwback and they don't do any of the cosmetic changes they could do to make it a true retro, it does appear kind of lazy. And so when I was grading them out yesterday, I had to kind of do it that way. And really it comes down to, okay, so if I'm going out and I'm buying jerseys, which one's what I want first? Now I'm wearing the Vancouver one with the gradient on it, which they used as the template for the one that they've released now, with the current Orca, which is white, and in green and blue. And it looks fantastic. And so what they did was they went retro. They had an old design. They put the new twist on it. They reversed it in that they used their current color scheme rather than the old one. Reverse retro. And I thought some teams took a chance. Here's Toronto. And I think if they'd gone with this leaf right here, which is, one of the older leaves they've used, and they could do it in a felt, like, they've done with other logos. And if they put that on, I don't know, St. Patrick's colors, right? Or the arena's striping, that kind of thing. You could say, hey, there's the logo, and they reversed it because they put it on something else. And then it gets into the road white debate. That's for some other time. And then this also has the Cooperalls in it. So the Cooperalls, the shiny, slippery pants that the NHL said those are far too dangerous. And then right here, you have the Seattle Metropolitans. Now, if I ask people, is the Metros an ugly jersey or not, people would be like, yeah. And then they'd be just saying, no. So these are the wool jerseys. Now, the wool sweaters went out in 70-71. 70-71, they got rid of the heavy wool sweaters, and they went to the jersey. That's where the jersey starts. Here's Stan Smeal trying to look happy, wearing, and that's such a great picture. Because there he is wearing that jersey, probably thinking, this is just a test, right? You guys aren't actually making us wear those in a game? Wearing those in a game? On purpose? In front of people? My family might be there. And they get into the secondary patches as well, which is an interesting discussion on secondaries. People wanted me to do a countdown of secondaries, and I would love to, but there's an awkward way of getting that done using whiteboards and stuff, and I don't have all of the logos actually magneted up. I do have a lot of secondaries, which longtime subscribers will know, but not all of them. So here's your top 10 of the ugliest. So they did a top 10 ugliest, and ugliest, curious, weird. You've got the Atlanta Thrashers, which that blue Atlanta Thrashers, I have that. It's fantastic. The Barber Pole Montreal, which I now have a sweater of. This was Montreal trying to do something, as a nice throwback for their centennial, which blinded most of the people watching TV. But this jersey's still highly in demand. People want it because it wasn't worn for very long. And it's just so ugly that people want to wear it. Buffalo. The Buffa Slug. Yep. And then you've got the Nashville Predators mustard jersey down here, which some people wanted to see come back with the meth tiger on the front. And then the Islanders. Now, what's interesting is when you get into the Islanders, and I'll read through this. I'm going to read through a few of these, and there's a point to be made in this. The 96-97 New York Islanders fish sticks jersey was scorned and ridiculed by the media and fans before it was even worn on the ice. The comparison of the new logo's unfortunate resemblance to the Gorton's Fisherman logo from the well-known brand of frozen fish sticks spawned chants by Rangers fans of "We want fish sticks." The jerseys were such a radical departure with their wavy waist stripes and rising and falling font for the names and numbers from those worn during the Islanders' Stanley Cup dynasty that they were doomed from the start. After just one season, the Islanders began to phase out the Fisherman logo as quickly as possible, returning to the classic Long Island, New York logo. So they put the New York Islanders logo on the wavy jersey, and then eventually they just got rid of the waviness and went back to the original. If they had released some kind of a reversed colors of this kind with the current Islanders logo, I think people would have probably said, hey, that's different. That's different. That's fun. And that's kind of what I was thinking when I looked at the jerseys was which ones are different, which ones are bold, make an interesting choice. At number 5 is the Burger King, which we didn't get. We didn't get the Burger King back. I still say that logo itself isn't too shabby. It's not that ugly. The logo itself, the design, the concept is ugly. The sash is weird. But then you get over here to number 4, and there's the Coyotes, the Peyote Coyote. With hockey fans already thinking the basic Coyotes home and away jerseys of the day were odd enough, and that's the Kachina. So the Kachina that is pretty widely loved and respected. When it first came into the league, there was a lot of, really? You can start from scratch and you're starting with that? That's interesting. This eerie midnight in the desert, or as I prefer, Peyote Ugly jersey is one of the strangest to see the ice and really has to make one wonder what the designers were smoking. Its moody color palette was unconventional enough. They've got an apostrophe in there. You don't need an apostrophe in its there. It's just ITS. Anyway. But the jersey's depiction of a landscape of mountains in the desert southwest under a crescent moon creates a dark, spooky feeling only added to by the unyielding stare of the main crest, a coyote head wearing just half a goalie mask for some reason. And one of the weird things about the Kachina is, why is only half the face covered? The package is completed by an unconventional font for the name and numbers that I feel safe in predicting won't be seeing the back of another NHL jersey anytime soon. Not only do I classify this jersey as weird, I think it's the single weirdest jersey ever. So, weirdest jersey ever. And then number 3 on the ugly, weird, curious is the Flying V jersey. Sleeves also featured V-shapes. As Stan Smeel said, I've never been ashamed to wear the Canucks uniform, but that night none of us wanted to leave the dressing room. Think about that. You got a whole team and they're all dressed, they all look at each other, and you look ridiculous. Oh, right. Yeah, we all look ridiculous. So who's going out there first? Is there a rookie? There has to be a rookie that can go out on the ice first, right? Maybe that's where that started. Sure, we'll just say that's where it started. Number 2 is the Mooterus, which some people were upset that Dallas didn't bring back. You could have brought this back in a white, and I guarantee you everybody who said I need a Mooterus. And then number 1 for the ugliest jersey is the Wild Wing. In 95-96, the Mighty Ducks of Anaheim alternate jersey was the most embarrassing jersey to be launched in league history. Doing away with the traditional crest, the Mighty Ducks created a unique design featuring a ridiculous cartoon of its mascot, Wild Wing, bursting through the ice in a superhero pose. The team only made matters worse with its choice for the name and numbers, a cartoonish, unattractive font that's difficult to read. That font's come back. I saw it on the back of the preview. I was like, holy crap, they used that font again. It's unmistakable. The players hated being seen wearing the Wild Wing jerseys. I've even read an account where the players said they did not want to don the jerseys again or have any pictures of them wearing the jersey in the following year's media guide. So none. So this picture, players not happy that pictures were actually taken. That would have been a night to say there will be no flash photography tonight. Not that anybody uses a flash anymore. And then it says, as a result, the Wild Wing jersey only had a lifespan of 6 games before being shelved for good. They wore it 6 times. We still talk about it 25 years later. Anaheim's doing a throwback to it. They only wore it 6 times. 6. That's 2 weeks worth of games. That's it. The jersey must be classified as weird and ugly. The font was much too busy. The secondary logos were hard enough for traditionalists to live with. And the front of the jersey, it's the stupidest thing I've ever seen on an NHL jersey, bar none. The jersey's so horrible and lacking in any dignity to the point that it actually makes me mad just thinking someone expected NHL professionals to wear it. Now, what's interesting is there are still going to be people who think this. There will still be people who say that the Wild Wing jersey is the ugliest. How can they do this? How in the world can they even think about doing this? This is a terrible idea. But this is a league that, in its time, has had its share of ugly jerseys. Now, he says that, and yet there are jerseys that in this book really won't sell that well right now, and that's the Ducks. If the Ducks changed over to these home and aways right now, there would be some who would say, you know what, those are pretty clean, and there'd be others saying, really, we have to go back to not having a logo? There's, of course, the Buffalo slug in here, which Buffalo was wearing, and then there's Dallas with a word mark too. I would qualify Dallas as pretty ugly. So yesterday we saw 31 teams release new jerseys. Some of them did retro, where they did a throwback. Some of them did a reverse, where they reversed colors. Some of them did both. And so I felt that the ones that did both, good. And when a team like Arizona or Anaheim does a throwback to jerseys that at the time were reviled and hated, but now all the youngins coming up, well, bless their hearts, they just don't know better. They're like, okay, we can sell this to a whole new generation. And yes, this does mean that if you are a Canucks fan and you're waiting for a Flying V, eventually it's going to happen. Because eventually they're going to want to take your money to buy one. You can get the Flying V jersey through the Canucks store, which is Van Base. You can get the yellow one. It's ugly. But I love it. I do. It is a jersey that I love because when I came into watching hockey, that's what the Canucks were wearing. So as a little kid, I didn't know any better. I thought it looked cool. And it was only later on, when I got older, that people would tap me on the shoulder and say, hey, you can't like that. It's ugly. And I kind of reacted with, no. So when I do videos where I talk about jerseys I like or I don't, it's not that opinions have changed a whole lot. Now, when the Wild Wing jersey first came out, I laughed. I laughed pretty hard. The first time I saw it, I was like, they're going to wear that in a game on purpose. Wow. And I remember thinking at the time as a Canuck fan, well, at least the Flying V isn't the ugliest one anymore. And there were some designs that were, definitely run amok during that time. And there are people who will say that this jersey, which has the gradient on it, right? Has a gradient, so it gradually turns red, that was an ugly design. How can they do a throwback to that? But there are plenty of Canuck fans that I already know of who've pre-ordered this jersey in the new design. And I was very happy when I got this one. This was a tough one to find. And I really salute teams that have gone back to a previously unthought of, one that you never would have considered they would go back to. Which does have people saying, so Boston's going to do a Paddington Bear jersey at some point? Maybe. I think you could clean it up. I think you could do a much better looking jersey than the one that they had, and still kind of give homage to what the Paddington Bear jersey was. And remember, Ray Bourque, Joe Thornton, some really good Hall of Fame level players wore that jersey. And it was painful when they'd wear that jersey. And the team wasn't very good either. And that's the other thing too, is that some of the jerseys that we remember as being ugly, it doesn't help if a team lost all the time wearing it. Sometimes a jersey can look really good. Coming back to the Vancouver aspect, I'd also point out New Jersey, the Vancouver Millionaires, the New Jersey throwback to the white 80s style that Devils fans were like, yes, we finally got this. Didn't win a game wearing it. Vancouver didn't win a game wearing their Millionaires jersey. It got retired. If that green reverse retro ends up being similarly jinxed for New Jersey, it gets retired. If they win wearing it, they probably keep it around for a while. Because I get the feeling sometimes that hockey executives might be just as superstitious as the rest of us. But again, the whole beauty and ugly of jerseys, it's all in the eye of the beholder. And I don't, there are certain ones that when I do jersey countdowns and which ones are my favorites and least favorites, it may change here and there, but there's usually some surprise of, wow, that one's really ugly and he has that one really high up. Maybe it's the bravery. All right. So Here's the question I have for all you fine people watching this. Which jersey would you like to see brought back that you never thought you'd see the team bring back? That would be in the same category as a Wild Wing, that would be in the same category as the Peyote Coyote, that we never thought we'd see on the ice again. But you're like, you know what? I wouldn't mind seeing that. Let me know in the comment section below. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through, you just happened upon this video. Thank you guys so much for watching, for all your support. I will talk to you again soon.